So back in 2009, on a Friday afternoon, I received a phone call from a neurologist that said that they had found something on my MRI that they had done on my head and that they wanted to see me first thing Monday morning. Great. I had a whole weekend to worry about what they had found, wondering what the capacity was that they found, whether or not it was a tumor, and then thinking about the rest of my life. It was one of the first moments where I really was facing my idea of mortality. I thought about all the things I hadn't said. I thought about all the things I hadn't done. At that point, I had a very scary experience with swimming when I was a teenager, so I hadn't really properly learned how to swim. That was on my mind. And I was the single mom of a 14-year-old boy at that point, and I was beginning to really worry about him. Wow, what a weekend. It was Sunday morning when I decided to call in my angels and call in my spirit guides, and I sat outside on the back deck to meditate. Now, it was a pretty warm morning, I remember. As I was sitting on the back deck, I was sitting on my porch swing. I could feel the sun pouring in on me, and I closed my eyes and I just started to breathe really softly, just allowing myself to be in the essence, move into that state of meditation. And I felt myself in that pull from beta to alpha pretty quickly. And that's when, in the experience of the meditation, I started to see snowflakes. It started to snow. I remember this so clearly because it was such a profound experience. It was like I was conscious of what was happening outside of me in my external environment, but I also knew I was moving into a deep spiritual state. And I could even start to feel the coolness and crispness of the air. And then I felt myself being pulled up. I was being pulled up, pulled up, pulled up. And I found myself drifting into what was a pure white room. There was a table in the center and my spirit guide team standing around the table. So I walked over to the table, and what I saw was that this table was actually a map, and they told me it was my life map. Now, half of the map was filled in. I could see what looked like roadways and byways and mountains, and it would look like, there was blocks in certain areas, and there was stop signs and go signs, and it was really wild because they pointed to the center of the map where the map piece had stopped, and they said, "This is where you are. You're in the center." When I looked at the other side, it was not filled in yet. So I didn't understand. I said, well, if I had traveled along these roads in my life, why is there nothing filled in from this point forward? And they started to show me something that looked like an animation. It was like an animation of me making decisions and walking along this map. And as I was making decisions, the roads were beginning to fill out. All the different pathways were beginning to develop before me. And I could see along the pathways as I made each decision that there were certain blockages and certain stop signs and certain yield signs and certain go signs placed along the paths. But what they showed me is that no matter which decision I made, that I would end up at some of these stop signs, block signs, yield signs, and go signs at different places. Based on the decisions I made, I would still face those certain things, but I had a decision on how to get there. Now, this was really profound for me because it made me understand that no decision was a bad decision, and that along the path, no matter what I chose, what I did choose to experience before I came here would be along those pathways, right? So yes, I have free will to choose which path and direction I want to take, but along those pathways, those certain things that I came here to experience would be along the roadmap. And at the end of the map, I would end up eventually where I needed to be anyway. So I basically come out of that meditation feeling like I'm going to be okay. And Monday morning rolls around and I go see the neurologist and he tells me I have a benign brain cyst on the right side of my brainstem. It would be too invasive to do surgery, that we can, handle it with pain management and other things that we can do, physical therapy to help relieve me of some of the pain. Great. Wonderful. I want you all to remember something. When I say no decision is a bad decision, I want you to understand that every decision that you have made up until this point has led you here to this moment. This moment right here is our opportune moment. No matter where you are, what you'll always have is you and this moment. So the decisions that we have made prior to this point, we've made those decisions based on the best evidence that we had in that moment. Love your past self. Forgive your past self. Thank your past self, because your past self was the one who got you here. And this moment holds value. And the decisions that we make in this moment, these are the decisions that are powerful. But know that if you are conflicted with a decision, and you're conflicted whether or not that this is fated or free will, that any decision that you make is going to lead you into exactly what you here to experience. I would love your thoughts on this and love what it sparked for you. Drop that down in the comments.